Hi there. A few years back, I worked at an Antarctic expeditionary base. Since then, I have emigrated from my country of birth. Yet, in writing this letter, I must be cautious about sharing information. If I still lived there, I would not be sharing even this sanitized version of the story. Just to be on the safe side, I won't disclose our nation's expedition or specific details. Several nations have bases in Antarctica, most with security personnel for unforeseen events despite no official military presence. I was one of two security staff at our nation's Antarctic station, recruited from National Special Forces. It was unusual for someone from our unit to be sent there. My instructions were to keep an eye open for anything strange and support the two existing security officers. I was issued auxiliary arms, including 3 automatic combat rifles. The other officer was a scientist with Army training. For the duration of my stay, he would be under my command. We often joined scientific field trips. During a field trip by helicopter to a distant mountain range for rock samples, we encountered a strange disc-shaped craft flying alongside us. Upon landing, it swiftly departed. Upon our return to the base, we reported the incident to the expedition leader, who appeared unsurprised but agitated. 3 days later, during a dark and snowy evening, the radar operator detected something landing near the station. I armed myself and headed out, where I encountered the expedition leader, who indicated the visitors were there to meet with him. I objected, demanding to know about the visitors, but he avoided the question. Insisting on following, I stayed about 10 meters behind him as we ventured into the storm. We encountered 2 strange individuals. With their blonde hair and fair skin, they looked like they were from Northern Europe, though they were too tall even for people from those parts. At about 8 feet tall, they were clad in tight blue suits of a strange design. In the light of the expedition leader's electric lantern, their brilliant blue eyes were unmistakable. They remained silent as the expedition leader conversed with them, gesturing as he usually does. I never saw the strangers speak, leaving me clueless about the meeting's purpose. After a brief encounter, we returned to the base and they departed. The expedition leader insisted on secrecy. We officially reported a radar glitch, though the operator disagreed. The following day, expeditions to the valley were halted. That night, I received an email from our capital city instructing secrecy and readiness for any potential threat. The next day, a large American naval helicopter arrived unannounced, with heavily armed personnel, sparking concern about their intentions. Our nation is neither allied with nor an enemy of the U.S., so it was surprising when we were instructed to arm ourselves. I equipped myself and the other security personnel with combat rifles and other weaponry. Despite our preparations, we were no match for the armed Americans. Our expedition leader advised us to stay in the background during the encounter, walking behind him and the chief science officer. The American delegation met with our leaders at the helipad, while we followed at a distance, as instructed. The Americans were led by their commanding officer and a mysterious man in civilian attire, both walking well ahead of their security detail. Seeing their 8 Marines made me very uneasy, as it seemed like a small invasion force. Our entire Antarctic station staff, mostly scientists, was only slightly larger than the American group. With just 2 security personnel, we were utterly outnumbered. Yet, our intention was a peaceful engagement. I observed a peculiar sight among the Americans, something I can only describe as a non-human figure, reminiscent of the stereotypical gray aliens from popular culture. It was initially walking behind the Marines and the reason we did not spot it at first. That sight unsettled us. This being, about 4 feet tall with a large head and huge black eyes, stood in the background with their security staff while their commanding officer and the civilian man conferred with our expedition leader. Despite witnessing many unusual events, this encounter stood out. The tension was palpable as our expedition leader and the American leaders interacted, though I couldn't discern their conversation. There was a lot of gesturing and what seemed like shouting going on. Eventually, the strange being approached the American leader, touching his hand. The moment that happened, the Americans immediately turned around, all together, seemingly without any greeting, got on their helicopter and left. I remain in the dark about the open-air meeting. It felt like a tense standoff, and we were bound by secrecy. Following a tele-debrief with our HQ, I was instructed to stay vigilant, especially regarding American activity, and to bar them from the base under any circumstances. Upon returning home, I found the entire experience unsettling. I still have lingering questions about its purpose and my role. Despite this, perhaps my specialized security skills were the main reason for my deployment, ready for any unforeseen circumstances. Everything else is a mystery. My experiences on that strange continent will forever puzzle me. Regards, Joe X. If you value Joe X's story, please like this video and please subscribe. Your support means the world to us.